A very good evening, everybody, and a special welcome to all my new subscribers. Before I came out this evening, I was up to 498, so nearly hit that 500 mark. Thank you very much for your interest. Just yesterday evening I watched a video by Double Boost of John, and he was his 2-bottle repair of a MZ silencer, and he was doing a bit of tin bashing, and one of the things he had to do was to cut out a piece of material which was too much for his tin snips, which were just ordinary tin snips. They weren't compound action shears like I've got, and he had to disappear off out to the other shed and use the angle grinder to cut it, which is of course a very noisy process. And that just reminded me of a technique that I used to use a while back. So I'm going to grab the camera off the tripod and show you a couple of things on the bench and the setup, and we'll cut some steel. Now normally I would use my bench shear there, but it's not yet been bolted down to the new bench, and in fact I'm not bolted the vices down. I found they're actually pretty secure with the clamps there, and I'll probably try and do something similar for the shear. But what I've got here is some steel that was used to be a piece of fairly heavy duty office furniture, and this stuff's 1.2mm thick, sort of 85 thou thereabouts, and I've got a bit of angle here with a reasonably sharp edge, and with the 2 vices I'm forming one giant vice, and I grabbed my brick bolster, and the last thing I was doing this was cutting up concrete, and I've given it a sharpen because it was fairly well rounded over, and got my trusty club hammer, and we're going to shear the top off this to get rid of that useless flange and turn it into a useful piece of flat steel. I've got goggles on, and I'm also going to put ear defenders on for this job. So I'm finding my level off the rear bit of angle, and I'm getting the blade angle so that the angle on the underside matches. Job done. Now I slightly caught the the angle at this end, but most of the way across I haven't touched it. It's a bit, I could do with some thicker angle really, because this was getting a bit springy, which slowed me down in the middle. It's still quite a quick technique. And that's not too bad an edge really. And of course there's very little distortion. And you can also use this, the hammer technique, on quite thick stuff. Got some, be about 1/8 inch flat stock. And a fairly grotty chisel, but I mean particularly if you imagine you were cutting a notch into a bit of plate, rather than having to make successive saw cuts, you can make 2 cuts and then cut out the base. And that's not a bad straight line. Now again, if you are watching John's silencer repair, you'll have seen he was struggling slightly to form the edges of the sheet over the bit of tubing he was using. If you clamp your sheet between the cylinder, whether it be a bar or a bit of tube, as the starting point, you can get that curve to come very close to the edge of the sheet. And this is again, it's that 1.2mm stuff rather than the 0.8 that John was using. Now to change pace for a moment, yesterday I had to go and see one of the electricians at work. I've been building some process block temperature controllers that, you know, got a ramp and soak controller in, and they've got to be portable appliance tested, PATS tested for safety. And I wanted to go and discuss the earth bonding, you know, which panels, because it's a multi-panel case that all clips together, which bits needed to be bonded and which bits didn't. So went and sorted that out. I was having a little general chat, and he said, oh, my wife's got some of her father's books that she's about to take down the charity shop. Would you like them? So I said, yes, thank you very much, I'll be very interested in seeing those. So when I got into work this morning, I found a pile of books sitting on my chair. So I'll put them up on the bench here for you. Okay, the first one is Civil Engineering Today by Edward Creasy. And the frontispiece page is a picture of the George Washington Bridge. And this was published in 1938 by the University Press, Oxford. And you know, I'll go through these at some stage. I'm going to have a read through and see what's if there's any interest. But there's going to be some nice pictures in here. There's dragline excavators. I'm just going to quickly look at the pictures here for you. Stuff on Sydney Harbour Bridge, cofferdams for Sorrel Bridge in Canada. More Sydney Harbour stuff. Yeah, and as I say, I'll have a read through, and I probably won't keep these. My bookshelves are very full. In fact, it's got to the point where I'm not buying fiction on paper. I'm only buying it in Kindle format because I've got books overflowing from shelves as it is. So maybe I'll figure out a way to pass these on to a suitable person. Now next we have a little light reading. This is Modern Welding Practice, Volumes 1, 2 and 3 by Caxton's Press. In Caxton, 1474, the Caxton Press was established, and this was first published 1953, and some of this will be still relevant, sort of introduction to welding, metallurgy, oxyacetylene, weld preparation and work holding. But of course many of the equipment and techniques will be a little obsolete. And the final set of books was yet another 3-volume lightweight tome, again by Caxton Press, and this is sheet metal work, and this obviously this is stuff that's not going to go out of date. So an introduction to metalwork, sheet metal work, interpretation of drawings, setting out, advanced setting out, sheet materials, alloy steels, panel beating, working with aluminium and magnesium alloys, copper working, and you know, for instance, fabricating big sheet metal assemblies like cyclone dust separators. So I think this is the set of out of these that I might keep, because I do a certain amount of metal fabrication. But yeah, I think we'll try and come up with a way of passing on the others' books to someone suitable. Well, that's it for this evening. I'm going back inside to do battle with the computer as I continue to try to get things drawn up in Design Spark Mechanical for those motorcycle suspension parts that I'm going to be making at some stage in the near future. I hope you've found something of interest in this video. Thank you very much for watching.